I guess this is as good a time as any to tell you good morning, good afternoon, good day, and good evening. Now, I don't know what time of day it is for you, but for me, it's the good time of day. We are back at it again today, and we are talking about another subject that is affecting the Black community. And in looking at that, in looking at things that are affecting the Black community, one of the things that becomes very apparent is that there is an all-out war on the Black community. And I'm going to ask you to give me a moment. I just realized I missed doing something. Give me one moment here. I am back, and we are back. I apologize again, and I guess I should just start this again and let you guys know good morning, good afternoon, good day, and good evening. Don't know what time of day it is for you, but for me, it's a good time of day. We are back at it again today. Another day, another dollar, soul's gonna holler. And we're talking about another issue that's affecting the Black community. And it's getting to the point now where we look at the assault that's being laid bare on our community and how we're being assaulted on so many different fronts. It really is. It's sad at this point, but we need to not only wade through this, but we need to make sure that as we're doing this, as we're wading through all of these things, these issues that are affecting us, that we're able to keep an eye on what it is that our adversary, our enemy, the individuals that are against us are doing. And I shouldn't even say the individuals, the groups, the systems that are in place that they have against us and what they're doing. Because the groups and the systems, I think we need to start identifying what they are specifically, such as the government in many ways, as well as many big businesses. And sometimes things that are geared directly toward us. And let me drop this link just as I'm going to drop this right now. I'm going to drop it at the beginning. Anybody who wants to, feel free to come on up, come on in. Let's talk about some of these issues that are affecting us in our community. The link has been dropped. It is there in the description. And one of the things I really want to do, let's just talk about the issue at hand. And I'm going to share my screen with you uh, because this is something that's targeted towards us as Black people. This is held out toward to us as a model for what it is that we should want to achieve, right? The article that I'm referring to and the magazine that is coming from is Essence Magazine. This is a magazine that has traditionally been geared towards us as Black people. I remember growing up, you had Ebony, you had Jet, you had Essence magazines, and they came to the home on a regular basis and enjoyed looking at them. Jet was as a youngster, when you had those Jet beauties, that was something I definitely enjoyed. Helped to get my mindset right on what type of woman I need to be looking at, right? But at the same time, Essence and Ebony were also magazines that came in on a regular basis, and they were held up kind of like how today you have BET and other things that are not even controlled or done by Black people, but yet and still they're held out as models and things like that that we as Black people should aspire to. And this one article, and I really want, you know what? I'm going to read this article in its entirety. So bear with me as I go through this article, because one of the things that's happening here is that they're holding out this high, lofty goal, which is not really a high, lofty goal. I hope you can hear the animus or the irony in my voice here. So let me just read this article, and I want to read it in its entirety. It's not that long of an article; it's about a page or so. And the impetus. I'm going to share it as I'm doing it. So let me share the screen. And see if we can gain a level of understanding. So let's look at this attack on us as a Black community, right? So this is a article here that's in Essence Magazine, and in said article in Essence Magazine, they are definitely targeting us as Black people. I say, and let's just go through this, and let's go through this and let's just read it and let's see exactly what it is that they're talking about here in Essence Magazine and what's geared towards us. So this is in our lifestyle section, and this is an article that says how walking away from my career and marriage showed me that self-love is enough. Dr. Uche Blackstock, personal story of leaving behind her career as a physician and ending her marriage, and how she found herself when she did both. So this is an article that's dealing with walking away from a career and ending a marriage and finding self-love as a Black woman. So let's really get into this and let's see exactly what it's talking about here. So this article starts off, it says, until recently, this is written by Dr. Uche Blackstock, and it was updated February 9th, 2022. So until recently, I don't know that I asked myself, what do you want, Uche? I had spent most of my adult life checking off boxes: go to college, be pre-med, attend medical school, get a residency. Oh, look, a fellowship, find a faculty position, meet someone, get married, have kids, live happily ever after, the end. For women, especially Black women, we are rarely granted the space to deviate from expectations, those of those of our loved ones, society, and everyone else in between. So I tried to make it all work. The first year of my marriage was great. I was genuinely happy. My then husband and I were on the same page about starting a family together. Everything happened as planned. I got pregnant quickly and birthed a beautiful and healthy baby. But to be honest, becoming a new mother was incredibly hard for me. After bringing the baby home, I often felt lonely, isolated, and exhausted. I really needed my mother in those tough moments and to be mothered myself. I often wondered what she might have said or done to help me, but she passed when I was 19. Since her death, my twin sister and I tried to support each other, but frankly, I needed a whole system of support. I needed a village, but I only had my husband. 2 years later, I gave birth to our second child. I was doing all the right things. I kept checking off those boxes. Don't get me wrong, I love my children deeply, but something happened to me after becoming a mother. I lost myself for a little bit. I think I was I think this is probably normal, but I wasn't prepared for the experience. I was trying to manage raising two little ones while working on my career and being a wife. I felt both internal and external pressure to make a choice about who I really was when the truth was I was more than the sum of all of me: a wife, a mother, a physician, and a visionary who wanted to make a real difference in this world. I am also a Black woman in this country who faces racism and sexism every day at every turn. So while I was trying to figure out how to exist and keep things going at home, I was dealing with a toxic and oppressive work environment. Being a physician should hold a sense of accomplishment and pride, being able to work and in service to others. However, that wasn't always the case for me. As a Black woman physician, I was working as faculty in a place that never truly valued me and chose not to change systemically. I felt unworthy and unappreciated at work. Because of that, I questioned myself and whether or not my talents were good enough. In addition, I grappled with my own experiences working within a healthcare system that never really cared about Black people and certainly doesn't serve us well. I absorbed the burden of not just having to do my job as a physician, but doing it while also facing, I apologize for that, but doing it while also facing, and I just lost my space. All right, I'm just gonna start this paragraph. Being a physician should hold a sense of accomplishment and pride, being able to work in service to others. However, that wasn't always the case for me. As a Black woman physician, I was working at faculty in a place that never truly valued me and chose not to change systemically. I felt unworthy and unappreciated at work. Because of that, I questioned myself and whether my or not my talents were good enough. In addition, I grappled with my own experiences working within a healthcare system that truly cared never really cared about Black people, and certainly didn't serve us well. I absorbed the burden of not just having to do my job as a physician, but doing it while also facing racism from patients and colleagues, as well as the mental toll of watching countless Black patients experience it too. Pause. Right. All right. I honestly felt worried about my mental and physical health and well being, living with the constant fear that someone might retaliate because I spoke up about my experiences. The pressure got to be too much. I couldn't show up to work as my authentic self. Ultimately, I made the difficult decision to leave my job. At the time, no one knew no one I knew just left academic medicine. Even within oppressive environments, we stayed to try and make a difference, or for a number of other reasons, whether it be financial certainty or the hope that leadership will make changes. I decided to forge my own path. When I left academic medicine entirely. I left it to focus my time and efforts on a venture that I found a year earlier. The organization Advancing Health Equity, the mission of my organization, inspired by my own personal and professional experiences, was to engage with healthcare providers to provide more diverse and inclusive work environments and to provide radically competent care for Black patients. I would finally be able to do the critical work that I always wanted to do at my previous job, but now I could do it on my own terms. Enter a new identity as an entrepreneur. Sadly, as Black women, we are often not given much wiggle room in terms of who or what we choose to be. I felt I had to choose either be a wife or a mother, or a physician or an entrepreneur. When I told my father that I was leaving my job, he asked, "What are you going to do now?" When I would eventually tell him I wanted a divorce, the conversation did not go as I had hoped. But I thought to myself, why did I have to make a choice? Because of what other people thought I should do, I should be. We are so we are socialized to expectations. We are conditioned to believe that we're checking off boxes for success when we are actually boxing ourselves in. I realized that just being a wife and mother was not enough for me. I wanted and needed the space to just be me, all of me, not only mama, not only boo, not only Dr. Blackstock, me, Uche, who gets married thinking that you'll divorce. I sure didn't. But as Bell Hooks once said, we should keep a sharp, ongoing critique of marriage in patriarchal society. Because once you marry within a society that remains patriarchal, no matter how alternative you want to be within your unit, there is still culture outside you that will impose many values on you, whether you want them to or not. By all appearances, we were a beautiful family. He was a great partner and is a wonderful father. But I was not being true to myself. I thought I was being selfish for putting myself and my needs first. I admit I worried about what others thought too. Black women deal with this all the time when we're trying to figure out our truth. My truth is that I walked away from expectations of myself to call myself in. My truth is that I love my children. I love my family. I love my work. But I also want to help make a better world for my children too. I have spent the last few years rediscovering who I am, experiencing the grief of divorce, loving up on my children, co parenting with a great father, and building the organization of my dreams. Today, I am better for it, walking a brand new path, one that I'm carving out for myself. As we mark this Valentine's Day and we walk about love and we talk about love, I'm loving myself in a different way. I've resolved to no longer go through life checking off boxes. I refuse to box myself in. I'm living wholly, fully, and intentionally. Most importantly, I know that self love is actually the greatest love of all and the greatest gift a Black woman can have. Dr. Uche Blackstock, a proud mama, physician, health equity advocate, and founder of Advancing Health Equity. So, for those of you guys that joined in and they're sitting around listening, bring you on in. This is because we have Westradamus coming on in. Well, I apologize that took so long in getting through that reading, but I wanted to make sure that nothing gets taken out of context here, and that when I talk about Dr. Uche Blackstock, that people understand that what I'm stating are her words and what it is that she's stating, and not what I'm stating about or making inferences about how she feels about her family. So, did you have anything you want to add before I go in on this, Westradamus?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm just going to start here, and when I read this article and as I'm looking at the article, it becomes readily apparent to me that the goal here, this is Essence Magazine, they have geared this as this is something that we as Black people should strive to, right? And they always couch the language of this in something that sounds great and it sounds noble. Self-love is enough. Is how this starts off. So they put the bad part first, walking away from career and marriage. Specifically, the marriage part is what I'm probably going to focus on. I'm not going to say probably. It's what I'm going to focus on. The career, we walk away from careers. We walk into careers on a regular basis. But walking away from marriage, walking away from family to focus on self-love is an extremely selfish goal that they have held out for us, one that is designed to help weaken the Black family. And when I look at this, and again, this is an Essence magazine. This is an article in their home lifestyle portion. This is what women are supposed to go to. They look at, and it's something that they can aspire to. This is lofty goals. This is a standard that is being held out as a great standard for Black people, specifically for Black women. And it's geared, this Dr. Uche, as she's living her truth, as she talked about in the last few paragraphs. And I've read it all just to make sure that as I talk about this, you guys understand that I am not misquoting or taking her statements out of context. This is, I read the entire thing, so we have it all in context. So by her own words, and I'm assuming that she wrote this, she had an editor because it's in Essence. So if it's in a magazine, if it's in Essence magazine, I'm assuming that someone proofread this for us. She knows what the words are. They came back and they did multiple iterations of this. And this is something that she felt good in putting out. And Essence said, yes, this is what we want to hold out for Black women. And here when she gets down to the bottom, the summary, the conclusion of all of the stuff that she went through was that she wanted a divorce so that she can focus on herself. And as she didn't say her husband was abusive, her former mate was abusive, that he did anything that was mentally, verbally, physically abusive to her. No, in fact, she says he was supportive, that they were on the same page. Again, these are her words. These are not my words. Her words for her relationship leading into Valentine's Day, which we just got past. And her own words state that she had a good, supportive husband, and her statement that really smacked of just how, I don't want to say a horrible person, but just how bad this was for me, was when she talked about her first child. Now, postpartum depression, postpartum issues within the family or for women is a very real, very substantive issue that women in general, Black women as well, being women obviously, face after giving birth. But to say that, hey, she needed her mother, she needed to be mothered. Only thing she had, she had her and her sister her and her twin trying to work things out. But then she said only her husband. She diminished what her husband was, or that the level of support that he wanted to provide her, even if it wasn't enough. The way that she just completely just deprecated, it was a horrible. I'm looking at this, the level of selfishness in that, for that to be held out as the standard that Black women need to aspire to put everything else behind, that you have other people, you have your husband, you have your children, are all depending on you and your husband. And you've decided that no, you don't want, you're opting out. Even though as a doctor, I'm sure that she's familiar with the stats that we talked about earlier this week, that children thrive better in a loving two-parent household. And that by every metric, the odds are against your children when you raise them up in a single parent household, even if it's a loving, and again, I should, what I should have done today, and I apologize, I didn't, as I'm talking about this right now, I have other stats I was going to bring in. I should have also brought back in those NIH stats on the metrics and how children suffer when they grow up in a single parent household. And I don't want to go too far into this. I want to get your thoughts on this, Westradamus, on what is it you think about this particular situation with Dr. Uche?
Well, my very first thing is she needs therapy. You know, that's like my first, like, whenever I read through this whole thing, is she needs therapy. You know, the second thing, all right, I understand that, you know, nobody's marriage is perfect, right?
Mm-hmm.
But all this is all we need is just a supportive marriage, okay? And that's the best that we can ask for, is just a supportive one, you know? And whatever issues that y'all had, you tell me that you couldn't go to any type of marital counseling to talk out your issues? Like, even like when she took this idea to her father, because remember, his father came from a different generation. She talking about leaving her husband, talking about, oh no. And then after that, then she gonna minimize her father's, like, well, he just didn't understand. That's what it says in the article, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then
exact quote that you're looking, I was going to give you the exact quote from talking to her dad. She said that when she talked to her dad, the conversation didn't go exactly as she expected. That was what she talked about when she spoke with her dad. She says, sadly, as a black woman, as a black woman, we're often given much wiggle room in terms of who or what we choose to be. I felt like I had to choose either a wife or a physician or an entrepreneur. When I told my father that I was leaving my job, he asked, "What are you gonna do now?" Perfectly understandable. And to your point, he says, when I would eventually tell him my one word, conversation didn't go as I had hoped. Right? Yeah, that's the exact quote that from what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and that's another thing that left the impression on me. Then the next thing that left the impression on me is, I have the feeling that she truly didn't love. She didn't love herself. She didn't love her family. She didn't love her kids. She didn't love her husband. It seemed like she got married for a checkbox. It wasn't. You know, it seemed like the vows that she made didn't mean anything. You know, for richer or poorer, for better or worse, until death do you part, right?
Right.
You know, and that's which gets me into, you know, with the, you know, we have a black people, we have a 26% marriage rate, right?
Okay.
All right, and then 52% of that of divorces, of that 26%, is initiated by women, right?
Yep.
By women, and that's at an 80% clip, right?
The numbers vary between 66% and 85%, depending on which source you're looking at as far as the divorce rates. But yes, it can be anywhere between there. So
okay, we'll put it in the middle. We'll put 78%, right?
Okay.
We'll put it in the middle, 78% clip, right? So what is that telling you is the person got married knowing that they don't want to honor their vows.
Mm-hmm.
Because remember, your vows are supposed to be before God, and thus, therefore, your vows are optional. And thus, if she wasn't complete as a person, why should you even put yourself in this position for this to happen? You know, like, and then, you know, I started reading into it. Is, remember, she was working at a academic medicine, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so therefore she was being paid very well, right? So to me, it seems like she was looking to get divorced, because of, if she has a very well-paying job, she might be making more money than her husband. I don't know. All right, and then so that's the reason why she quit her job. So now she's not making that much of money. So now, whenever she does get divorced, the the husband is not taking any cut of her money. She's just taking a cut of his. So like I seen this very strategic, and I see multiple times that she actually contradicted herself, like in the article, and it's very, how can you say that you love your kids, you're a proud mama, but then again you wrecked your own home, and then now it seems like now she's out there on the dating market looking for the same thing that she had. Even if it's a man or in a woman, she's looking for the same thing she had. So that's what I'm saying. I don't get it. It's just like, hey, if you're running, like, all right, you're in a car, okay, you're not going to run into a post two or three times, right?
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, it's truly like, do you love yourself? And at the end of the day, she's trying to stress self-love, but when you know that psychology, when people try to stress certain things, they're trying to talk themselves up and try to clap themselves up for it, and number two is clearly she didn't have a great support system of friends, because of great marriages are not grown on trees,
Right.
and then no, it's a constant source of being worked, and and it's just unfortunate that it made me sad that a family just got broken up just because this person decided that they wanted something different.
I agree. When I'm listening to it, or when I see it, for me personally, and this is, I say, when I look at the article and I look at the source of the article, you have, as it has all the makings for me of what I consider an assault on the Black family. Right.
Facts.
Talked about that a while back, but I'm coming back to it again because this is just the latest iteration or instance that we can actually look at. So here you have it's an Essence magazine, right?
Yes.
I'm gonna go back and I'm just gonna highlight. It's an Essence magazine is where this is coming from. Essence magazine is targeted towards who? It's targeted towards Black people, right? It's a doctor. So Dr. Blackstock, she's a woman. So it's a woman in a position of high prestige that's being held out as a model towards other Black women. Okay. So like you mentioned, she has other issues that she should be working through. I agree with you wholeheartedly, 100%, that there's a lot of other things that you're looking at, because now we're dealing with to me, it's an extremely selfish individual. And
yes, indeed.
And it's being promoted within society that the only duty that you have is to yourself. And I get it. I hear how they're going, but now that in society that they're touting that, not only are they touting it in society, they are now putting it directly, squarely pointed at the Black community, right? So this is what Black women should strive to be, right? So when a Black woman has back in the day, you would get it out at the newsstands, but now you click on it, you go into the lifestyle section, which is where they have that section there for a reason, because it gets a lot of views. And they hold out this example for Black women of something that you should be aspiring towards. And I look at that, I'm going, why? I'm going to go into a little more deeper on this in a moment here, but why is it that we want to aspire to and hold out that as the example? The example of quitting your job, okay, great, go chase greatness, great. I'm not that aspect of the article, I have no issues with. She's a woman who, like I said, she walked through all of those stage gates, as it were, in life, the expected stage gates in life that she talked about, which was go to college, be pre-med, attend medical school, get a residency, fellowship, find a faculty position. Then then it goes from professional, right? And they make it seem like it's all
a checklist.
Right, it's a checklist. But now at this point where I just stopped that last period, I'm gonna sit there and I'm gonna cut it there and say the remainder of this is not just on you. So if you decided that I don't want to be married, I just want a career, I want to be a boss chick, whatever that they're holding out for black women. This is what you need to aspire to. This is what you need to do. This is going to make you happy in life. This is going to be fulfilling for you. All of these things that they hold out as these emotional triggers, these emotional points to sit there and make them feel some type of way, right? Being emotional beings or more emotional than most men, and how they're trained to be more emotional as well. But it's this whole aspect of, okay, now we're going to hit all these emotional push buttons. And then they go into meet someone, get married, have kids, live happily ever after. So the family aspect comes on the tail end. Okay, how the order that you want to put it in, I can disagree with the order. I can disagree on whether or not it should come first or does it come second, however that works out, right? However, what the point I'm making here is that to meet someone, get married, have kids, that is no longer a solitary endeavor, right?
Yes,
that is
right, correct.
Doing just by yourself. Now you have, if it's just you and your marriage mate, you guys don't have kids. Now you have you and your marriage mate, and that other individual. If you did it like you said, the vows before God, but even if you didn't, if you're looking at the legal aspect of it, you're entering into a contract with another individual. You're contracting as if you went to law school. I know
Right.
You're familiar with the law. That it's for detriment and for as a something that you're doing for detriment or benefit of yourself and the others, right? So now you have a contract between yourself and someone else that you entered into from a legal perspective. From a spiritual perspective, it's something that you did before God. And in either of those cases, now it's not just you, it's you and someone else. And,
That's right.
And so now you're looking at, well, why are we breaking this? Let's say there's no kids at this point. Why are we breaking it? Are we breaking it because the other party, in this case, the man, is he abusive physically, mentally,
No.
emotionally? By her own, like you said, by her own admission, I say she's looking at it as he was supportive. That was her own. Those are her words. That's not mine. And then she said, "Get married, have kids." So down they got married, they have kids, and it was interesting to me that in that third paragraph. And let me share this. I hesitate because I don't want to just
go ahead.
Not share and like I'm just stating something. Okay, so in this paragraph, this third paragraph down here, it says the first year of my marriage was great. I was genuinely happy, right? My then husband and I were on the same page, right? The same page about starting a family together. So she didn't do this in a vacuum. He didn't sit there and say, we're going to have a family and you're going to be a mother. None of that happened. They were on the same page.
Facts.
Family. So they did it together. And so it's not like she just, well, I just happened to get pregnant. I was unintentional. So you're hitting these stage gates, you get there. And this is being held out to our Black women that even when you have these things,
you agree to do it.
Yeah.
And then it's okay for you to back out of it because you're not happy. And then, but the whole conundrum about it is happiness is nobody else's responsibility but your own.
Correct.
You know, and it seems like because you said off that postpartum depression, right after that first one, she said that she had nobody else but her man, right?
Yes, she said.
So how unfair is that to him? You know, and what type of culture did you cultivate with him? And he was still willing to rock out with you, even though that clearly, if you're postpartum, okay, clearly that means your mothering instinct didn't kick in immediately. All right. So that means you're a little bit distant, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and clearly it seems like she still is suffering from a form of that, because she's like, well, being married, having kids, having the family, having all my accomplishments, having more degrees than a thermometer is not enough. You know, and then it's not enough. You know, like if she has more degrees than a thermometer, and that's still not enough. That still did not make her happy. Think about that. Think about all her accomplishments. And then she's talking about, oh, I need to walk away from all. And then people are trying to hold her up as some kind of hero or some type of influencer.
Correct.
All right. Whenever she don't even have it all together. Reason why she make this public, because she's tussling with it herself. Because if she's a person she wants to be clapped up for this. She wants attention for this. Matter of fact, she's trying to be like MSNBC, so therefore she's trying to get more attention for her to grow her brand.
It's not, for me, it's not even the fact that she wants more attention for herself. It's the fact that that Essence magazine gave her the attention and put her front and center for everybody as this is the model. This is what you need to aspire to. This is what you want to be. This is what Black women should be. Breaking up families, destroying your households. You need to do the one. Take the sledgehammer to your own house. Put the match and the accelerant and the lighter fluid to your own house. Burn it down yourself. Don't let somebody else do it. Oh no. Oh hell no. You don't need to let the white man do it. The white man's telling you, go ahead and do it. We're gonna hold it out for you. Here's the model. This is what you need to aspire to be, Black women. Be like Dr. Uche. Destroy your own homes. So I got fired.
And then how are we supposed to rise as a culture if we do not have our families intact? If we were to look back in the 1950s and 60s, right? The reason why the civil rights movement grew to such a rapid and became so strong is because we had families behind it.
Correct.
All right. And that's how powerful we became. Okay. And now, ever since the 1970s, I call it the democratic era of the civil rights era of Black people, right? The democratic era. Okay. We have nothing but fell from that. Everything. Okay. Unemployment rate's up. Home ownership rate is down. Everything else is down. Everything good for us is down. Business ownership is down. Everything is down, except for unemployment rates. So, to me, and it starts with our families, because whenever we have our families, okay, we're gonna start starting businesses with each other. Not that we're gonna try to start doing business with each other and start supporting each other. And then it's funny how when you see women like this, right, they won't correct each other.
No,
it's like, hey sis, this is not a right move. And I understand it because of, we don't live in that bygone era anymore where we can correct each other because the people don't want to get swung on. It's like, oh, that's them. But look where it's gotten us. Where's because like put like this, like, hey, Mr. Black, hey, if I'm doing wrong, you can come to me and correct me.
Right.
And how I respond to it says a lot to my character.
Correct.
But you can come and correct me, because save me if I'm wrong, right?
All
right, but
at the very least, tell your brother or your sister this is what you're doing wrong. Even if they don't take the they don't take the advice. Even if they blow you off, at least have the love for them to say, "Hey, look, I see what you're doing. I understand that you might have the best of intentions. However, everything that we've seen so far, this is not going to turn out all right." Right. And I love you and you get to do this. Yes, you can blow me off if you want to, but I'm just letting you know I care about you and I want what's best for you. And I can see that you're going down a bad path. We don't even do that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, because like with men, we can do that. But where's that, amongst our women?
Well, that's the interesting part about what this whole Dr. Uche story, that for me, and it being held out to as in Essence magazine, right? So you're looking at it in Essence. Essence is is big up in this, and I'm laughing at it because I'm like, let's say just hypothetically, let's say that there was an article of self-love for a man, same situation, and instead of looking at a career and something along those lines, he realized that the box he was in was not one that he needed to be in, and society had boxed him in, and that what he realized that he wanted was not what society had wanted. And so he's going to burn down his family, because after his first kid, he realized he had a lot of jealousy for let's say he had a son. He had a lot of jealousy for his son and the attention the wife was giving his son. And he had a hard time with it. And so instead of being there, what he decided to do was that he went and he found himself some other women, made himself another family, one without a kid, so that he didn't have to fit in that box. And then him and the new woman are together, but he didn't want to get married because society has his viewpoint on marriage without a kid, so that he didn't. So looking at that and here and say, if that was something that happened, how many women do you think would be up in arms if they seen this, right?
Facts. Like they would go in on a black man if there was a black man writing this article, okay, people will be going in on him. All right, and it's not and you see the double standard. Oh, what type of man will break up his family type thing, And no, it's sad. It really is like this. This shows just the decay of like, hey, we rather choose like you said again, the selfishness, the self-centeredness. Okay, and it seems like to her, like she's even trying to become a victim in this article. It's like, hey, I didn't have my mother to help me, and my mother, and I had nobody else to lean on. Therefore, she's trying to create a victimhood in this article. So therefore, that people can identify with her in essence, like, hey, she's pointing to this this event in her life, as a reason why, because hey, I needed mothering, I needed things, and then like when you start having kids, it's no longer about you.
No, not at all.
It's not about you. They didn't ask to be here.
That I cannot agree with that more. Because the kid, like I said, the kids didn't ask to be here. They didn't ask for, oh, I want you as a parent, and for you to go like, oh, okay, well, my career comes before you. I know I brought you into this world, but just go fend for yourself, or you know what, I'm gonna love on you in my own way. That is so narcissistic.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
No, I said it's just that's extremely narcissistic, and I for me, when I look at it, I think, why would society, as a whole, want to see women, even specifically in this case, black women, just abandon their families that way? And I was reading an article the other day in Inc. magazine. And let me put this up, because to me it goes to that point of what it is that why you want to break it up and why you want women separate from men. It says women drive the majority of purchasing. It says, as a women on the daily spend more time than men making economic decisions for their families. From consumer goods to services, women hold crucial purchasing power. In fact, women drive 70 to 80% of all consumer purchasing through a combination of their buying power and influence. So we're looking at, so when I look at that, I go, okay, so women have the majority of buying power and purchasing power, or do the majority of buying and purchasing in our society. And if you can get women away from men, put that wedge between them, and you give them, whether it's they went through and they got a degree and they're now a doctor and at wherever she was at, and she's on faculty, or whether she's actually a medical doctor in the hospital, or if you're on welfare and you have a baby daddy that you now are getting child support from, the women are going to take and they're going to spend that money or put it back into the system, right? So Uncle Sam's going to give them the money. They're going to give them the money right back, and it's going to go to all the big business and everything else. So having the black family divided this way, having it so that women are out there by themselves, it's like, and if a man tells you, oh, well, we should probably do something else with our money, oh, that he's being oppressive. You need to be you. Don't settle for being mama. Don't settle for being baby. Don't settle for being boo. Be you. Insert name.
Yeah, that's right. And and this is in my opinion. Of course, I don't have any facts or figures to back this up, but the black woman, she is the single biggest commodity on the face of this planet. And if you just look on YouTube, okay, there are whole communities just talking about black women, right? And people are eating off this. All right. Yeah. Look at all the consumer products, from skin bleaching creams to hair products, wigs, lashes, um, even cars, everything. Okay, they're the single biggest commodity on the face of this earth. And in my opinion, because hey, I could be wrong, but and then when
I
you,
don't think that you're wrong, but I'm gonna share some numbers with you in a moment. But go ahead.
oh yeah, hey, I could be wrong, and even from like just like the over sexualized, they're just being just, it's
Abuse.
like, yeah, it's just like, hey man, just it's just y'all the cash cow. Matter of fact, y'all the backbone of this country, and now y'all the cash cow because of, hey, there's no money in y'all keeping the family because of a lot of times is a lot of people will clap them up for being single. Oh girl, go ahead, girl, good, go get it, and then turn around and then go take your man, or go take your men, and then after, you're gonna turn around and complain, talking about, oh, there ain't no more good ones out here.
Correct.
Like, because I bet you 100% that, hey, she has said, I can bet you that somebody like her or somebody that was in her position is saying that there are no, she would go back there on the dating market and say there are no more good black men out there, or there's no more good men out there, period, right?
Correct.
Whenever she had the perfect situation. Like, don't get me wrong,
She had a
not,
great situation. It was a great situation.
yeah, like, hey, this dude ain't hitting you, he ain't going upside your head. Your kids love you, because now it's like, okay, what about the situation for your kids? So clearly, do you love your kids?
Evident. Let me share something that goes along with what you're talking about. I was going to bring this graphic in a moment, or this article in a
Yeah, go
moment,
ahead.
but it goes exactly to what you're talking about. So I showed you a moment ago about how women outspend men, or they're 70 to 80% of the buying power here in the country, right? So then here's African American spending power demands that marketers show more love and support for Black culture, and this is from Nielsen. So this is Nielsen.com. This is Nielsen, the people who did Nielsen ratings and whatnot, who specialize in God dog it, I had the word on the tip of my tongue. Surveys. They specialize in surveys, and specifically like when it came to what targeting advertisers, right? And this is from 2019. And so here it is. It goes into talking about things that you were talking about a moment ago. On African Americans are more likely than the total population to agree that advertising provides meaningful information on most platforms, including mobile, and it gives that advertising spend designed to reach Black consumers declined 5% between 2017 and 2018. However, it started talking about African Americans outspend the total market on personal soap and bath needs by nearly 19%, right?
Mm.
And then it talks about a male stat on grooming. Then it goes into more than 52% of African Americans find in-store shopping relaxing compared to 26% of the total population. And it goes on and on as far as trends about how we are accounting for like 90% of the overall spending, right? So our incomes, and I'll show another chart here in a moment, but our incomes are nowhere near what everybody else's incomes are, but we're doing the majority of the spending. We are propping up this economic system, right? With our consumerism alone, we are propping up the economic system. We always talk about how we don't have money. One of the reasons why we don't have money because they keep on taking we keep on giving it to them, right? They take our money because we keep on giving it to them. And they make sure that our women give it to them, because it's like, you shouldn't have a man telling you anything, right? If I say, why do you have to consult with your husband about anything? You're a strong, independent, boss Black woman. You don't need to talk to your husband or your man about anything. You make the decisions. You wear the pants in that household. You go out, spend everybody else, and you keep on propping up this system, right? And that's where they're at with it now. They make sure that Black women, guys, we're gonna give you guys the means to do it, let you guys destroy your own household, and then we're gonna prop you up by, even if we give you money in the form of welfare or whatnot, you're gonna give it all right back.
Unemployment, PPP loan,
Whatever it is, they give it to them. You look at these spending numbers that Nielsen is showing, they're going to give it right back.
facts. And
So
then the kicker is, and then when they go to jail, we're gonna even make 3 times as much money on them because we're gonna have them work for free. You know.
exactly right. And that's convict labor, right? So we have a as a if you watched the show yesterday, one of the things we did talk about yesterday was with the black population. So we talked about how laws, even though they might be facially neutral or racially neutral, how that doesn't really matter, right? And it doesn't matter because one of the things that they do we're overrepresented. We make up, and I showed the stats yesterday from the census website, that we make up, according to the census, around 14 to 15% of the population, right? White people make up over 75% of the population, and yet in the federal prison of Bureau of Prisons statistics, we make up as black people over 38% of the prison population, right? So we only make up 14% or 15 to 14% of the total population, but over 38% of the prison population. On top of that, when looking at how the laws are created, the laws are created in such a way that yes, they're facially neutral, but they're enforced racially. So they can look at the fact, and I showed it yesterday when I talked about it, the statistics showing that black people and white people do drugs at roughly the same percent, and not even do drugs, because doing drugs, white people do drugs at a higher percentage rate, according to all the numbers, than black people. White people and black people sell drugs at approximately the same rate, with black people slightly edging out white people in selling drugs. However, black people are incarcerated for drugs at a higher rate than what white people are. And when you look at the numbers and you see it's like, okay, well, they need us, or they want us in there for convict labor. They pay us, or they don't even pay us. They pay the prisons anywhere from $38,000 to $40,000 a year per prisoner at the federal level, right? So prisoners, I'm sorry, to 44. It's 38 to 44. But prisoners, they pay the companies what would be a living wage for each prisoner. So they have money within the budget, but then it's like, oh, okay, we're going to make money off of you. We're going to give it back to the business. You're going to work for free. We're going to take him, divide your families up. We're going to make it so that get your women in the household by themselves so that they don't respect you, or they don't sit there. They don't want to keep the family together. Your sons are going to be in this perpetual motion, because as I also showed how sons are more adversely affected by the absence of fathers than our daughters, but both of them are adversely affected. But it's more so on sons and daughters. Your sons are going to jump back into the system just like their fathers have, and it's going to be, and each subsequent generation, it's going to be even worse. And they do it by holding up people like Uche as the model for women to say, let's keep these families broken. Let's keep the men in prison. If not keeping the men in prison, let's just make sure that the family doesn't stay together. Women make up over between 75 and 80% of all the purchasing power. We want to make sure that we keep the money in their hands, so they keep on propping this up, and we'll make sure that all of these black women. The other thing I showed the other day was that black women, the exponential rise of never married black women, right? And the reason for it is that if we can keep black women and black men at odds with each other, right? Because we succeed when we're together. When we're together, we can succeed. When we respect each other and we work together as a household, as a unit, we succeed. But if they keep us divided, we fail, and we fail catastrophically, and we keep on failing because we keep on doing the same thing over and over again. And that's, for me, that's
insanity.
It's Einstein's definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. And we buy into, and tomorrow I'm going to talk a little more about how self-help is great, but the pull yourself up by your bootstraps is just ludicrous. But we buy into everybody needs to pull themselves up by their bootstraps. And then and we don't even have boots to pull ourselves up most of the time by our bootstraps. We're still in the year 2000. Many black families are still experiencing first, right? We're still experiencing first in black families in 2000s. First family member to go to college in the 2000s. How is it that we're still experiencing first in the 2000s within our families?
Yeah, and another thing is, like, why are we not passing down wealth? You know, like, I think there was man, I forgot. I saw this stat. Man, I need to send you this article where it says that all the black wealth is actually going to women, and women are now spending it all up. You
Send
know,
I'll do another show on that one. Like I said, tomorrow I'll be talking about one thing, but on Monday, let's get back on it. As a Western Thomas, I will exposing and showing what's going on within the families is something I think that is sorely needed, and not only exposing it, but coming up with some kind of solution on what it is we can do, because we need to work together. We black men and black women need to get together, and
that's right, and
we
figure it out.
yeah, I know a lot of people they hate a lot of the guys that are out there that's in the space, or women that like, such as the who is that? Kevin Samuels is one that most people, you say, like, they roll their eyes, but he's starting the dialogue, and a
That's
lot of
right.
people actually starting to talk about it because of him. Like him or hate him, like his standpoint or his viewpoint on it or hate it, the dialogue is at least started. We are at least now talking to one another about these issues, much in the same vein of Shahrazad Ali back in
Yes,
the
the elder.
early 90s, right? When she wrote that book, and everybody discounted her entire book off of one sentence, right? Don't read the entire book, because she had one sentence in there that said sometimes a black woman needs an open-handed slap in the mouth.
Mm.
One sentence, hundreds of pages, one sentence. Disregard the entire. Why do you need to listen to any of it, or why would you read any of this? And people who derided her back at that time, like Ayala Van Zandt, who went on the talk shows to sit there and deride her at that time, now come back and are saying the exact same thing that she said back then. We're out of order.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they always been. It's ever since like that. That 1986 documentary. Um, you see it, and like you see what has happened even now. Those same kids that were children to those mothers back in 1986. You see where those kids are now. They have repeated the cycle. So it's just very unfortunate. It's just we need to define what love is. No, we don't need to go outside. We don't need to go with nobody else's definition, because of clearly we're in somebody else's education system. When you look around here, America raised us. So no matter what, okay, every person that you look at, okay, and they're born here and things like that, America raised them.
Mm-hmm.
Or whatever country it is. If you look at it, and after that you look at how they raised us and how they're raising our families now, it's just like it's
Redheaded stepchild.
yeah, and it's time for us to start making our own definitions of things.
Yeah, I would make our own definition of family at this point. One of the things I'm working on right now, and this is something that I want to start doing, because I'm it's like, okay, so identifying the problem is one thing, right? And I don't want to just become this where we just talk about the problems and we don't do anything.
That's right.
But one of the things I want to do, and I want to start, is I would like to get out of the practice, and I know I'm gonna piss off a lot of people as I do this, because I'm trying to get together a list of attorneys here in the area, and I want to get a list of family attorneys here in the area. And I shouldn't say it, but I'm gonna say it today because it's coming out on Monday, so I don't mind saying it right now. So I have a list of attorneys that I'm putting together, and specifically those that specialize in family law. And what I want is, before couples get married, instead of going to talk to your preacher, instead of talking to your priest, your rabbi, your imam, go talk to a family law attorney first. Take a look and see whether or not the system and the family that they're talking about, the legal marriage, is what it is that you're actually looking for. And if it's not, if it is, or if it isn't, at least you'll have an idea, and you'll spend a little money on the front end. I say anywhere from $150 to $300 on the front end to sit down with an attorney to understand exactly what it is you're getting into. Maybe you might want a prenup, because the difference between a spiritual or scriptural marriage and a legal marriage is huge. That chasm is huge.
Oh, you better speak on that.
Yeah. Your priest, your preacher, your bishop, whoever might tell you, like, oh, don't believe in prenups, or I don't believe in prenups. You shouldn't use it because your marriage isn't going to work. I mean, isn't going to fail. And if you do walk into it, then you're walking into it thinking that it's going to fail. the numbers say that anywhere between 45 and 50% of them fail, right? 45 to 52% of them fail. And if that's what the numbers are, he's hoping on hope and he has faith or whatever. But I guarantee if you look in the congregation that you're sitting in, there's more than a few divorced couples that preacher, pastor, or rabbi, imam, or the like would have already married that are divorced sitting there in the congregation with you. So you can look around and you can see within your congregation how many of those couples are on their second, third, fourth marriage, or single people who used to be married, right? So
That's
here
facts.
is, like I said, so starting Monday, you'll see it, but the goal is to get it so that as you're going through and you're thinking about this thing called marriage, right? And defining it as a couple on what it is that you're actually looking for in a marriage, and talking about it before you walk into it, understanding what it's going to look like, and just going to the killing fields, right? Get out there and see what it looks like in family court. Couples that started off, like Uche said, who goes into marriage thinking they're going to get divorced? Not me, right? So we understand that most people don't go into it thinking that they're going to get divorced, but over half of them, or approximately half of them, are divorced. So it's something that we really need to start looking at, especially when it comes to the Black community. I want to focus on us first, on as you're getting ready to jump into this, what is it going to look like for you guys? What are some of the things that you need to consider going into it from a legal standpoint? Because the attorneys, they're like sharks in the water afterwards. I want to see if we can get them sharks in the water before, it's granted it's cheaper, but you can have them coming in beforehand. Hopefully we can curtail or get a drop off significantly on them coming into them later on. That's where I would like to be at with it.
Yes. Two things. There's one thing I want to ask Dr. Uche, and we're gonna go. We're gonna go to scripture. Matthew 16:26. It says, "For what profit does a man?" It says in the book, but we'll say a person. For what profit does a person gain the whole world and lose his soul? And the second part of it is, what else can a person give in exchange for their soul? To me, I want to know what her answer is to that.
It's all about her,
because it's like she, like, what else is there for you to give in exchange for your soul? Like for this whole, like you went through this whole checklist, you went through everything, right? Married, you did the whole nine. I bet she probably did very well for herself. She traveled the whole world, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So what else can she give in exchange for her soul? What else?
She's probably not thinking about any of that. She's thinking about what else can she get, not what she get, right? You're looking at it from the standpoint that you should be looking at it, because we're self-sacrificing as a parent, right?
But it says she sacrificed her kids all in the name just for her to be said, hey, I'm successful, or look at me, I'm this, I'm that. Mm-hmm. Like I got my own business. Hey, I'm a contributor to MSNBC. Like what else? What else is there? Okay, are gonna do because it seems like to me, like I could be wrong on this, but to me it seems like women are kind of like in like a ever living conundrum, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like of whenever the single ladies are trying to be like the married ladies, right? They're pointing and say, hey, I want to be like this. And then the married ladies are pointing and like, hey, I want to be like the single ladies. Like where are the people on stand up and like where are elder women standing up and say, hey, this is how we do it, instead of trying to compete with the younger ones? I just it's just I don't understand it.
I don't either. Let me get these comments real fast. I don't want to miss them as we're going in, because I'm like you. I don't understand it. But Andre Shabazz, he says, as a Black man, I feel the conscious Black community must have a conscious mind that we as a people are and have been under attack. This fight is bigger than you, me, or any one person. Facts. I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. Let me get one of these other ones. It says, we have to rebuild the Black community. He continues on. She is a doctor, but that doesn't mean that she's
education don't mean that intelligence. I'll tell you that.
Let's see. And then we have Gospel News says, what makes these people a moral example? I would agree that they're not, but they're being held out for us as moral examples. It says, and how are they people setting the bar for everyone else? And it's not really so much that the people are setting it as when we started off, they're holding them out to us as the example for us, right? So traditionally, what is held out to Black people? The magazines or the periodicals that when I was growing up that were targeted towards Black people.
Jet Magazine,
Ebony Magazine, Essence Magazine. These were the magazines, these were the periodicals that we looked at that were held out to us as Black people to say that these are the models. These are the people that you're going to say, you want to hear about something like an Emmett Till or something along those lines. Those were things that were held out in Jet Mag. Even if you didn't hear about it in any other mainstream periodical or mainstream news article, that was held out as Black media, Black news articles. And now what they're doing in Essence Magazine, they're telling they put out Dr. Uche as the example. They don't say she has a, when you read it, it's like, ooh, this is a boss chick. They look,
she's a boss chick. Oh my God. I want to be just like Dr. Uche. I'm going to put my family, I'm going to burn it down because it's all about me and my self-happiness.
Right? So they hold it out that way. And everybody now, they look at it and they go like, oh, what's going on? Well, that's what they're holding out to us. And I appreciate those comments. Yeah, let me see. I got one more. Media. Exactly. Gospel News. I agree with you. Media is, advertisers and media are a key aspect of how they continue to manipulate us. And this also, in Nielsen, this article I had up that I put up from Nielsen and also from Inc. If you want to know how they're actually, go listen to stockholder earning calls that they put out for big business. Go to the periodicals they're looking at. Look at their look at how they're putting their stuff out. Right now, we're talking about a recession. As a matter of fact, they're talking about it. Some of these other podcasters are also talking about it. As we're looking at it and we're saying that, oh my goodness, we're suffering. The businesses are doing gangbusters. They're having the best earning years of their
facts.
They're doing fine. Let's see. Keep us divided from Andre Shabazz. I agree. That's exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, like our media, like the whole media, that's what regulates our culture now. And yes, and they're not owned by faces that look like us either. So
yeah, that was what Gospel News. He's saying that owned by white people. Correct me if I'm wrong. You are not wrong. The whole goal of our system right now is that for you to make it, if you are a small business owner, right? Let's say that you are a small business owner and you create your own business. Your goal is not just for your business to grow. Your goal is for your business to grow large enough that one of the other larger businesses in your sector will buy you out for millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions, or maybe even $1 billion, right? But that is your goal in this system, right? It is not. Right. So BET got bought out by Viacom. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, keep on going.
No, I'm saying you have people like BET, they got bought out by Viacom. I say things that have traditionally been the purview of Black people, or that was started by Black people. The goal was for them to get to a high enough status that it goes, ooh, they can make good money off of that. Let's buy that out. So that's what they normally do. That's the normal goal. And that's not just for Black business, but that's for business in general. But for us as Black people, to have a business and to have something that should be for us and that we dictate what those values are in there, we end up selling it off, right? The goal is I want to make enough money that I don't have to worry about the headaches. I'll sell it off to some white guy. Viacom can now manage it, or Viacom will now own it. Bill Cosby and the like, when he was trying to buy NBC, you see how that turned out for him, right?
That's facts.
Yeah, all the skeletons come out. And not only do the skeletons come out, they find new and more adventurous ways on how to prosecute us as Black people. So because even when they shouldn't, by law, prosecute you, they're still going to sit in there and they're going to prosecute you. Gospel News says, so they've been vilifying Black people for years. This is true. They're going to continue.
Oh, yeah. And I want to build on to that. It's just like, you know, for the few, right, that actually make it, get a business, right? And let's say you don't sell out, right? But you make it into circles where they want you to marry interracially. And so now whenever you die, the things do not pass to your children, it passes to the other race. And then after that, they'll take your whole wealth and take it with their people. So therefore, it's still a conundrum. You know, just like that Louis Vuitton gentleman, you know, like he married interracially, okay, he passed away, and look at his whole all his hard work, just give him right on back, you know. So like you know, let's just call a spade, you know. So and that's why it's important, you know, like, hey, we gotta start passing down this wealth. And you know, I actually have another we talk about solutions and things like that. And you know, they've been vilifying Black people and things like that. And we're talking about, you know, families is really our answer. You know, it's been staring us right in our face. And, you know, instead of us like taking vows, you know, like, oh, for richer or better, richer or poor, right? Why don't we take oaths? You know, like just like in public office, okay, you take an oath of office, right? Okay, you don't break that oath of office. Okay, hey, she's a medical doctor, okay, or she's or some type of a doctor in medicine, right? You take an oath for that. Okay, just like, hey, trying to be an attorney, right? If you're an attorney, you take an oath. Okay, and do you break your oaths?
No.
Okay,
but just barred, that'll get a lot of things happening to you at that point. You get there's sanctions coming.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. So therefore, hey, if you can keep your oath over here, but you can't keep your vow over here, so clearly, vows are, I think, are outdated, because clearly, if we're only being married at a 20% clip, okay, and more than half fail, and then they're being, and 80, let's say 78% of that is being, or at least 66% of it is actually being initiated by a woman. Okay, clearly the vows, nobody's honoring the vows.
No, not at all.
So why don't we make oaths? You know, so for us to honor that, because clearly a vow does not work.
Well, as that was one of the things I talked about the other day, and I just realized I still do have the stats. I can pull those up and I'll show them. I can share them here in a moment. But one of the things that like you're talking about, when I was going through my divorce, my divorce attorney, one of the things that she told me, she said, it doesn't matter what you call it, just as long as you get the result, right?
Right.
So I say that, and let me see if I can make this a little bigger here so that everybody can see it on my screen here. So this is something that comes from Black demographics. They pulled the data directly from the census from 2019, and it's showing that Black people, this is Black marital status. If you can take a look at my screen here, and this is something I shared the other day when I was talking about the attack on the assaults on the Black family. Black people in general are married at 30% here, never married 50%, divorced 12%, separated 3%, widowed 6%. Then it breaks it down by men and women. So Black men 33% married as opposed to 27% for Black women. 52% never married for Black men, 48% for Black women. So they're divorcing more frequently, and their never married status is down because they are getting married and divorced. The interesting thing when you look at these is look at the all USA, right? So everybody else or all the other races in the US that are married is 48%. So they're 18% more than Black people. Never married, they're at 34%, have never, so their numbers are a lot less than ours. Another thing that I showed the other day was marital status by race. So when they broke it down, like the others, the Hispanic, the white, and the Asian, you can see that Asians are married at 58%, by far and away the highest. the least or never married the least, and divorced the least. Whites, 52%. So they're married at a higher rate than we are. Divorced at around the same rate at 12% and 12%, but never married at 28%. So all their numbers are significantly less than what ours are as Black people. Black men who have been married, that's not the stat I wanted to share with you guys. Talked about that one the other day. There's a chart, a pie graph, or not a pie graph, a graph. Here we go. Black women more likely to be married or more likely to be married than white women until 1970. Then it gives you this percentage. So normally you would think it's going up. That would be a good thing for Black women. But in this case, the percentage that they're showing here is of never married Black women of 35 years or older by race. So this lower one here, this is Black women. The higher one here, this blue and green one, this is white women. And you'll see that they stick somewhere just around 10% never married all the way through. And let me pull this up a little bit to 2010. Black women, on the other hand, never married. You'll look at I say from 1890 all the way to around 1970, they between 5 and 10%. And then at 1970, they started jumping. And then 1980, it escalated exponentially. And at this point, Black women are never married at 25%. Additionally, when you look at Black men in comparison, the same stat when you're looking at it is the same way from 1890 to as a 2010. And you can see the same around 10%. White people are Black people are under 10% of never married. And then there was a bump here in 1940, went right back down, stayed around that 10% mark, and then it just skyrocketed right here around the 1980s, war on drugs. And it correlates when you look at it here on the war on drugs and its effect. Let me make this a little smaller here. Its effect on Black marriage in the 1980s and 90s. And again, this is Census Bureau stuff that they pulled on this blackdemos.com. And you can see that the black line is Black men in prison. The red line is Black men never married. And you can see the correlation between the two as it started climbing. And now in 2000, the rate of Black men in prison is starting to decline, but the rate of Black men never being married is still climbing, still escalating. So the attack on the Black family is definitive, is there. And I guess I didn't realize I got behind. Okay. Legal marriage is a way of taxing you. That came from Gospel News.
Gospel News never lied, man.
Yeah.
hey, real quick. Hey, go back like 2 slides.
Okay, I'm sorry. Let me get back in here because
go back 2 of them because I want to say comment about Gospel News. I was like, hey, that dude on there looked just like Gospel News, man. Yeah, that dude right there. Yeah, yeah. So
let's see, because promising them a check if they stick is there. That would honestly,
that's true.
If I had to redo it, and let me get through the rest of these before I give that other my other thought on this. Gospel News also states don't, and what is integration is the problem. I agree, integration is a problem. Not desegregation, integration being the issue, or wanting to by any means be a part of the other society, as opposed to building our culture, our society, and then having them beg. It's kind of like they do with the Asians. Let's see, 1980 Black community are being flooded with drugs. That's just true. And that was part of that deal when I showed you that one chart, and the LOL. So yeah, so
one thing I do want to say is before you get in your anecdote, I do disagree about integration being the problem. I do disagree with that.
Give me as a
here. I know. I want to say that for another show because we're gonna that's like a deep dive type thing. But I do disagree with that.
Yeah, because for me, it's like I have no issues with integrate or with working with other cultures or other people. No issues whatsoever. I'm not for separate but equal. I don't think that I vehemently think that is just wrong on so many different levels, both legally, because once you start down that road, the ability to discriminate legally becomes a way easier when you do that. However, the desire to integrate that we need to be with white folks.
That thinking is very damaging, but
that's the part that I have an issue with integration. Now it could be as a like this is why let's do another episode on that one. We'll talk specifically about
integration.
But we can talk about integration specifically. But because in my head I'm like, okay, I gave an anecdote yesterday, and I talked about my experience with Starbucks and why I no longer patronize Starbucks. And for me personally, after I explained the reason why, one of the things I highlighted yesterday when I talked about it is the fact that with Starbucks, I'm not going to beg you or anybody to take my money, right? Me patronizing your business is a privilege, right? Me coming into they would never do what they did for us as Black people to a white person. Never.
Facts.
Or not even a white person, LGBTQ plus, LMNOP, QRX, and let me add some minus and some other. I'm not getting in trouble with them folks because they said that they'll pull out all the stops to make sure that they put the hammer down. And as Dave Chappelle says, that they will punch down. But if it was one of them that happened to, by all means, they would have went to all their advertisers and be like, look, you can advertise with this company or with these people if you want, with Starbucks if you want to, but we will not be buying anything else from you guys. And the advertiser would have pulled their money, and everybody else would have pulled their money from them, and they would have been apologizing. Who is that? Dana White from the UFC. He doesn't apologize for hardly anything, right?
That's right.
They said they had a couple fighters call it who were white, talking about in context that was negative, talking about Black people as niggers, right? And he was like, well, he believes it's free speech, right? He's not going to impede their free speech. However, the same Dana White, when a fighter said the word faggot on his at one of the events, oh my goodness, did he go in? That fighter got suspended. That fighter got pulled, and that fighter got his contract terminated because of using that word, right? So for us, it's a free. I say, First Amendment doesn't apply to private business, but he's gonna make the exception. But if it's anybody else that can they can economically impacting, he's gonna sit there, which is what that group is, and that's where we need to get to. At least in my opinion, we need to get to the point where when something happens specifically with a Black man, and instead of begging them to do us right, to sit there and say, "Hey, I'm not." You don't want to do business with me? That's cool. I'm not going to beg you to take my money. I'll go someplace else.
Yeah. No, we just need to just operate as a body politic. It's like, hey, and we need to go to highest bidder. Hey, whoever want to cut a deal with us. Like I said a couple of shows ago. At the beginning of Biden's presidential, I'm not trying to go all politicky. The Asians, they got the anti-hate bill. And what do we get? We got a backhanded compliment. We got Juneteenth. Like we didn't ask for a freaking holiday. Even now, we're asking for student loan debt forgiveness. But what we get? We're getting inflation and all this nonsense. So it's just
and I like Asian. I'm not against them, but as a
no. Like I think it's amazing.
I'm like, how in the world do y'all get it? And we still don't have anything like this.
And we had George Floyd, Tamir Rice. We have documentation behind us. You know what I'm saying? Mike Brown. We Sandra Bland. Like come on now. Like we have national movements. And and then like the unfortunate thing, like with the Black Lives Matter administration, because clearly they don't love Black people, clearly, just based off their actions, they're not showing that hey, they have a love for the people or for the culture, and even like with this Nicki Minaj, like she had a little thing on TikTok about Black history, and it was nothing but, it wasn't nobody looked like us on there, right? It was, so like it's, it's like, now we're moving to like a transracial society now, just. Anybody can identify to being, African American, or have the African American experience and things like
This
that.
goal is all.
Yeah, exactly. And now I think, and this what I think what we can do as men is we can be, if we were to come together and operate as a body politic, and after that we just start making our deal. Say, hey, you want our votes? Okay, this is what's going to happen.
I agree. I agree.
And just like how we control marriage, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's like, hey, we're gonna hold off on that ring. I say, hey, if you want to be married, you gotta show us a wife.
Yeah.
Just because you open your legs or whatever it is, just because you say this, say that, because you're not entitled. Because just going back to the article, there's a lot of entitlement to that, and it's coming off the most entitled. Valentine's Day is the most entitled holiday.
It is.
Because people's like, oh, I deserve this because I deserve. Like, so why do you think you deserve to get appreciated on this day instead of, let's say, the February the 13th? Or what about February the 15th?
I say what you deserve is, I say, if you got the relationship, you deserve. I say you get the love and everything else that comes with it. But a specific day, I don't. Let me read a couple more of these comments before they start pile up on me again. So I have Gospel News says 1970s was integration, 1980s was drugs. I can definitely see that. He also said,
and then 90s is Biden wrote the crime bill.
That was Clinton that did the 3 strikes.
Yeah. But Biden, he wrote the crime bill in 1994.
Oh, that's true, because he
was for Clinton. Yeah.
Yep. So let's see. It says it should be same with you. Now, understanding that one, the money people are gay. All right. It says we are forcing white people to accept us. They're not accepting us. We're trying to force it in there, and that's not happening. And then the last one is, how is entertainment the greatest influence of our children and people? That's what they pigeonhole us in, right? You think about the stereotypes for people. If you think about
entertainers,
as a black people, as a sports, singers, or other types of entertainers, that's what they pigeonhole us. If you're Asian, you're good at math or any technology. If you're Jewish, you're good at money. If you everybody, when you look at the stereotypes for people, you can see how they're pigeonholing us. And not only are they pigeonholing us that way, they put it in the media. They take the black man out the home. They say they put the black woman in. Say, just do what you feel like. Do what feels good, not what is actually good for your family. And so long as it's good for you, who cares about your family, right? And
exactly.
Keep the man in prison. And if we do let him out of prison, now that we can start letting them out of prison, you guys just continue to reject them. Reject the family. Chase after the ones that it's kind of like when guys go like, oh, but she bad though. It's like, what else does she have to offer? Or a woman looking at a man going, but he has this kind of, what else does he have to offer? Is it family oriented? Is it there that's going to help benefit the community going forward? And if what we're doing right now is not benefiting the community going forward, our community is going to continue to fail because they've already been in place. They've already been executing on it. And we've been just continuing to do the same thing and expecting different results. So what you pointed out earlier. So like the Einstein definition of insanity. So we're acting insane. We are continuing to do this, and the answers are in front of us. And it's one of those things, like when I talk to people, I'm like, one of the things that you need to do, you need to be comfortable or get comfortable with being uncomfortable, because that's what they hold over you, right?
Xavier, let me ask you this, okay? Mm-hmm. Does this make any sense to you, right? So, all right, let's say Dr. Uche or a person like Dr. Uche, right? Mm-hmm. They will deal with Ray Ray and Pookie, right?
Correct.
No problem whatsoever. But let's say if a Dr. Uche give a person such as yourself, very accomplished, have degrees, have law degrees, you have all those accomplishments in the military, you do very well for yourself, right? And whenever you reject her, she will try to destroy you.
Yeah.
And try to make accusations against you or try to rub your name all throughout the mud, but she'll let Ray Ray and Pookie go for free. So like, do you even understand that?
It depends on how much money you have, right? So if you're a Ray Ray and Pookie, entertainer that has a lot of money, she'll do the same thing to you. But if you don't have any money, it's like, okay, well, she'll have your babies, then she'll have the next Ray Ray and Pookie the baby, then the next one, the next one. And it's this thing where you look at it, it's like, okay, you realize what you're doing and how you're doing your family, right? Let me catch this. Let's see. They've given them the head of the family and people. That's true. They definitely have it. If you're talking about the they as in the women, definitely. And we're not working together as couples anymore, right? That's something that we're no longer doing. Watching TV, and then what's the last thing that Gospel News said? He says, when are absent according to TV, the black man. Yeah, I say according to TV, yes. The portrayal of the black
drug
man,
dealers.
Yeah, I say the portrayal of us is always negative in the media, right? Fictionally, our portrayal, and even factually, whenever they portray us as black people, we are portrayed in a very negative, demeaning, and degrading light. We are horrible human beings. We are something to be feared. I'm 5'5", right? I'm a short guy, and people will look at me walking down the street if I'm not in a suit, and they start clutching their purses if they're white folks or Asian people, and they start crossing to the other side of the street. They start looking at you, mean mugging you, because they're assuming that you're going to do something. And it's like, no matter how you are, just the fact that your skin color is black and you are a male,
weaponized.
It is weaponized against us to make you one of the most feared things on the planet. You are an animal that the portrayal of us started with Birth of a Nation, that film that they showed when they first started doing film, that was shown in the White House, where Woodrow Wilson showed in the White House, that black men were something to be scared of, that we have no control, that we need to be tamed, and everybody needs salvation from the black man. From the beginning of media, or the media that we now get to jumping into, where before they put us in there and put white folks in there as blackface to do these portrayals, these negative portrayals, now we are willingly doing these negative portrayals of ourselves in black media to reinforce the negative inflection or the negative viewpoint of black people. And that is something, when you look at it, it's like they conned into portraying ourselves negatively now.
Facts. Well, they programmed us. Like, remember, America raised us. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is their programming, and so therefore we always are programmed just to be the bottom of the barrel. And it seems like there's like a race to the bottom. Because when you look on the Facebook, Facebook Live or Instagram Live or whatever, the next viral thing on media takeout or gossip or it's like you look at yourself like ladies or gentlemen, men, like, can it get any lower? Like earlier today, I was watching the but Valentine's Day fails, where like a woman, she went out with two men, whatever, one in the morning, one in the evening, she got caught up, and the other one, she got caught. Her husband was at home with the kids, but she had a location on, so therefore he went to the location because he thought she was at work. And then after that, caught her up, and then after that, she still left with the other dude, and then after that, hey, caught a couple men as well, he tried to do 2 dates, in one day, and then got caught up and blown up at Red Lobster, just like what I told you. So yeah, man, it just seems like it's always like a race to the bottom, and then the media only wants to only spotlight just the degenerates, only the degenerates. It's like, why are you show on this guy, or who elected these people to run our culture? Who elected these people, or who say, hey, go ahead and run this Facebook, go ahead and do this, and matter of fact, why are we allowing, people of low intelligence even finish a sentence? What I'm saying? Like these simple-minded people, like, why are we even giving these people a platform?
They do it because, like I said, like they're doing with Dr. Uche. Right, whether they're simple-minded or high-minded, wherever they're at,
simple-minded, like I said,
they are there to serve as an example for us. They're held out to us as an example of what we should strive for. The Gospel News says this is through influence on TV. I agree. I said that's what we're talking about. Media. It says it goes all the way back to slavery. The Willie Lynch letter. Most definitely, it has a. I would even argue it goes before slavery. It goes to when Columbus and them first came to this country, when they first set up shop, when they were robbing the land from the indigenous people and then bringing over people from other countries in order to work as indentured servants or slaves. That is when, from the first time of the robbery all the way down till now, they've been making sure that they keep that narrative the same, that this country is only for those people that came over the way that they want.
On boats.
Yes.
Only on boats, because all of them, they always want to say that all black people came over boats. That's not true. 100 million black people come over on boats. I'm sorry. Show me the documentation. But it is documented that all of them came over here on boats. It's documented. Not one was indigenous here, So they always want to say go back to Africa or whatever. Actually, we're actually from here. You're the one that's not. You're documented. And back on your Christopher Columbus, first he came here as trying to be like on a church missionary mission, or Mr. Cologne, Christopher Cologne. He actually came here on church missionary.
Yeah.
Then the next time he came, right, the second mission, he came here with 13 warships. So he came here to conquer. He didn't come here for nothing else. He didn't come here for peace. Conquering.
He came here to take over. And the interesting part about that whole aspect, or that whole deal, at least to me, the interesting part about it is that, and I'm probably gonna have an episode about origins or whatever, maybe in a couple of weeks here. But the interesting part about it, like you talking about Christopher Columbus, people think that he's from this place. It's like he was a gun for hire, essentially. He went to wherever it was, whoever would fund him coming over here or doing the journey that he wanted to get on over here. That was where he went. So Spain was the one who did it. He went with Spain, right? So
and like, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
And then like the Moors, remember the Moors at that time was running Spain, and so you already know that the Moors already had trade with us over here. It just the Spaniards with the new Christian monarch has not, because that was the fall of the Nazareth dynasty. And they had turncoats that already had relationships with us, and they sent them over here with Christopher Cologne, because he didn't know where he was going. So people like a Juan Garrido, okay, when you see Juan Garrido, like, okay, who's that? And then when you pull up his picture, you'll see that Mr. Garrido, he was a person of African descent, a Moor, so therefore the Moors actually helped the destruction of us over here. So
well, it's interesting. You talking about trade here beforehand, and you know what? I'm gonna hold off because I say
we can go deep. We can go deeper. I got receipts.
Yeah, has a brother Robin Walker has some books on it. We also have they came before Columbus. I'm trying to remember the name of the author. God dog it, I forget his name. This brother, powerful brother. The book is called They Came Before Columbus, and I cannot remember his name right now.
Yeah. I know.
Walker's in
him, Amos Wilson, Dr. Ben Janakman.
Yep.
Yeah, like man, there's so many of them out there.
Very much
honor to all those ancestors.
Yeah, I say honor to all of them. I say, and let's see, Gospel News says the first time they came here, they were prisoners. Are you talking about the whites or the black people? But yeah, I'd say there's a lot of documentation. I guess I'm gonna have to put together and get all my documentation together so that we can sit down and talk about this either next week or the week afterwards. Because it's a lot, and I don't know how that's gonna be a long one, because that's a lot of documentation stuff to go over for that one.
Yeah. Like, because I traced my family back to the to around like the 1600s. So. And clearly, my family been here in America. It was no type of been on a boat from Africa all the way over here. No, we have documentation all here in America. So
let's say not $5 Indians, huh?
Yeah, no, not the $5. Hey, I'm hey, I'm Cherokee or I'm whatever, on the Dodge roll, full blooded here.
Gotcha. I say, and Gospel News just corrected me. He said white people. That's who came over. So thank you very much,
Okay.
Gospel News. But yeah, I say so that's as I don't have a whole lot more to talk about with Dr. Uche, as because she just contributes or has contributed greatly to the degradation of the Black community. And again, if I'm just looking at it is. Let me come down all back down here and pull this article back up. But in looking at all the stuff that she wanted to talk about in here, everything was centered on herself, and it's I guess truth in advertising, because her whole thing is about self-love is enough, and so it's all about being selfish or her self-love. That when you get in there, her whole article is about herself. And whether or not it hurt her family, whether or not it hurts her kids, and she plays it up as in, we co-parent now. He's a great partner.
Whatever, man. You're single, and this is right before Valentine's Day, and there ain't no ring on that finger. So like, isn't that like the sole antithesis of Valentine's Day? It's like, oh, I can just self-love instead of love somebody else. Right?
That's what Valentine's. They're gonna change it. We're gonna change it to the day is about it's a love day. It's a love day, counselor. It's a love day that's there to make sure that it doesn't matter whether it's love of someone else, love of your kids. It's a day of love. So even if you love, it's a day of love. And let's see. Gospel News says some of it is rewrite of history. It really can't be valid. As a validate or valid. I'm gonna go with valid. So yeah, that's accurate. That's very accurate.
Oh yeah. You always have to go through your primary sources, and then after that, then vet the author as well. You have to vet the author and then look through the primary source, and then after that you just work your way through that. Just like after that, then we'll go back on her after I say this. It's just like they said that they deciphered the Medu Neter, right? But they didn't have a codex to decipher the Medu Neter. Remember, the ancient Egyptian dialect has not been spoken over 1,000 years. So how you're able to Champollion, like how are you in 1822 to decipher the whole Medu Neter, right? When you don't have nobody who spoke the language at the time or anything like that, no codex, right? And you decipher 100% of it. But when it comes down to the Maya glyphs that's actually here in America, okay, right down in Mexico City. Matter of fact, they actually got some in Texas and things like that, down on the border. And in our petroglyphs, okay, we actually have a codex for it, and it's only 85% completed. Been deciphered only 85%. So you tell me, how does that make sense? You have a Medu Neter that has been completely deciphered with no codex, and nobody at the time spoke the language or anything like that. But then you have over here in Maya, we actually have a codex. We actually have people who actually spoke the language, wrote the language, okay, and only 85% of that. So clearly, people are rewriting history, or they want you to. Or they're just trying to make a buck off you because a fool is born every day.
Well, it's not just. I think I look at it as in they're trying to create a narrative, right? And when we talk about this, I'm gonna bring. There's a video that I watched a while back, where it had Dr. John Henrik Clarke. He was debating with some white folks or whatever. It was going over that the theory about Black Cleopatra, and to me it was a real show, right? However, one of the things that came out that was very, very telling in that discussion, and I don't say that to put down Dr. Clarke. I respect the ancestor greatly. However, one of the things that came out of that was both the white gentleman and the white lady who were who were debating with Dr. Clarke. Both of them at two to three different times in that debate brought up is like we already have a good narrative. Why do we need to toss that out? And I was like, wait, so you want to keep the narrative in spite of facts that might contravene the narrative? So instead of saying, okay, here's what the facts are, and we're going to craft the narrative from the facts, we have a narrative that we've already created, and now we just need facts to match it. And so now we're going to sit there, we're going to cherry pick, and then any facts that don't match this narrative, we're going to toss out. Right.
Mhm.
That's one of the things when you're looking at it, it's like, okay, so you have a narrative that they want to push. There's definitively a narrative there that they want to push, and they're going to find facts that fulfill that fulfills that narrative. And I don't know if I want to agree. I think that they're becoming okay. So gospel news, what I was talking about here a second ago, before I got started, for the people who are just listening, it's LOL. Self-love is BS. The black woman has become the most undesirable woman.
I disagree with that wholeheartedly.
Okay. I'm of two minds on that. And I'll tell you what the two minds are when I say this. And then it says people have been writing since the beginning of time. Okay. So let me go back to the original statement about black women being the most undesirable. So they recently had, I shouldn't even say recently, this is probably 3 to 4 years ago. I was talking to a young lady black woman, sister that I was talking to. And we were talking about a survey that was done that dealt with black women being the least liked people so it was white men, then white women, black men, then black women being the most undesirable or least liked people. I think that from that standpoint, depends the numbers there on that one. I got to go I got to pull that. I probably call her up and see if she remembers where it's at and have her send it to me so we can I can put that up there. But at the same time, I always look at how everybody tries to emulate. I think
exactly
black women, while being undesirable, are the most, I say, hold the most influence over purchase, like we talked about for purchasing, but they even over how they look. They set trends.
BBLs. Come on now. Sarah Bartman. Like, come on now. Like, that's what I'm saying. I'm sorry to cut you off, but I wholeheartedly disagree with that. Like, hey, how can this person be the standard of beauty still to this day?
And that's why I say I'm of two minds. Because one is standard of beauty. The other is desirability. Not from just a physical standpoint, but from, okay, so would you bang her? Most definitely. Would you wife her? Is she desirable enough to be a wife? That's where so that's why I say I'm of the two minds. So most attractive, or probably on that list of most attractive, most definitely. Most desirable to wife and to keep. This is where I think, like I said, I appreciate people like Kevin Samuels, who's opening up the dialogue and the conversation. I was talking with the lead attorney the other day, and one of the things, like when we talk about it, is that when you have women out there that they don't understand, because we were talking to one of the other Patreon people that he had on there, that they don't understand the difference. They feel that they've been lied to. A lot of the black women is what they say. And okay, great, I get it. You have been, but what are you going to do about it? Right. So you understand now that there has been deception on how it is that you should be as a woman. Dr. Uche is not the model. Any of those other things that they're holding out for you, those are not the models. With our mothers and grandmothers and whatnot have told you, that's not the model. Talk to a black man and find out exactly what that model is, on what they're looking for. And when I say not even what that model is, but look at the time when we were actually strong as a people. When we were not just highly married, but when we were actually making a difference. You talked about earlier about the importance of the black family back in the day, like in the 50s and when we were doing the civil rights movement. It was so important at that time, the image that we portrayed specifically for the black family, that when Claudette was one of the first ones in Montgomery to not give up her seat, they chose Rosa Parks because the image of a black mother was not something that they wanted to be the face of that movement, right? So it has the importance at the time to the black community on just how important is the family. A single black mother was not important, as it was not the standard that they want to hold out. And we could also talk about some colorism at that time as well in that decision. But the importance of family of being one of the criteria on whether or not you could represent the black people in something as pivotal as a bus boycott, to be the figurehead, they looked at it as like, okay, you can't be a single mother. That's not doable, right? And there was some other, like I said, the colorism also came into effect. But I just want to highlight the point that you were talking about earlier about the fact that as a community, we recognize the need to have a strong, solid family. And how that image, that portrayal of the marketing was better on what that was. And then we started going to jail in large numbers. Let me get some of these other ones before I miss something. I want to get your thoughts as well. So let's see. Men are just not obtaining intellect, the greatest lie ever told. Let's see. Let's see. The black woman attitude sink. I'm gonna assume that you mean stinks, not synced, although it is sinking lower. But that's also for our community within.
Here, I have a comment on that one real quick.
Go for it.
When you look at this article, right? This Dr. Uche, she actually defied her dad, the person who raised her, who loves her the most, right? It said her mom died at 19. Okay, correct. Who do you think who was there for her dad? So her dad has been imparting wisdom on her, and that she's going to defy her dad's wishes. Yep. You know, and that shows me everything I need to know about that person right there.
I'm gonna take it a step further with you on that one. I say, because when I looked at, like I say, there's two things that it was her viewpoint of men becomes readily apparent, and this is a hit piece on black men and trying to continue to put black men and black women at odds. This is what because she denigrated her then husband, right? It was only him, and her mother died when she was 19, but she doesn't big up or talk about the fact that apparently, because she still has a relationship with him, and she talks about him in there. And I get I'm speculating right now because she doesn't say that she did have a relationship with him, but she had a good enough relationship with her father that after 19, that she still went to him to talk about the fact that she was quitting her job and divorcing her husband. So if she still had a relationship with, so she talks about the impact of her mother's death, that's brutal. Having a parent die is brutal. Having a mother pass, brutal. I can only imagine, and I pray to God that my mom sticks around here a lot longer than what she is right now, right?
Yeah, my old man passed away, so I know.
Yeah, so that's something I definitely don't want to experience. However, at the same time, your father is still here, and you could see her viewpoint in how she wrote that article, the minimizing and the denigration of the men in her life, big upping of her sister and her mom, and the negative portrayal of her husband and the father in her article. It was just in passing and not a positive portrayal of somebody who was supportive. It was, well, he didn't have the discussion with me that I wanted, right? It didn't go as I planned. Let's see. And let me get some these other ones real fast, and I'm going to let you give me some more comments on this. Let's see. Yes, they are beautiful, but their attitude stinks. Baby equals paycheck. That is absolute. Okay.
That's facts.
You touched on something that's a legal issue that I even when I talk with TLA, we both, I say all of it, most people who have dealt with family law if you're being objective about it here, Gospel News, 50-50 custody should be the default. What they have done essentially, and this is a personal opinion, they have monetized the children in the family. So children in the family are now monetized commodities within the family. So in a divorce, they put the parents at odds financially based on a number given to the children, a financial number, a dollar amount that's been prescribed to the children.
That's 20, 25, 30%.
Correct. That's here in Texas. Yeah, I deal with those numbers. I have the SOS website. Every time I have to do a mediation, that's a SAPSR mediation. I'm sorry, suits affecting parent child. It's a family law mediation. Anytime I'm doing one of those, I have to keep those numbers in front of me or be ready to understand, to be able to look at what those numbers are, the percentage, what child is this, and how that works in the law. But we have monetized the children, and and then we frame it And this goes back to what I talked about yesterday on understanding the rules of the game, right? Because how they frame it is framed as best interest of the child, right?
But best interest of the court to get money?
Correct. Okay, so the court also, if it goes through SOS, the Secretary of State's office, the state now has what do you call it? They have a interest in that divorce, right? They now have the time where they look at it, they go, okay, now we get a percent of what is owed to the mother, right? And so the state, they uphold that and they do that as a what's owed to the mother or what's owed to, however that goes. And then you could have a situation like I was talking to someone who's an attorney in Georgia and in Florida, where even if you might say, hey, let's say the mother's on public assistance, she gets child support, she's not receiving it directly. It goes to the state. The state says that because the mother's receiving X amount in public assistance, she doesn't get the child support check. The father does. So now she's bad mouthing the dad, right? That the father is either deadbeat dad. She doesn't get any money from this deadbeat dad when it comes down to child support, because the state's taking the money, because the state is entitled to a percentage, and the more money that the state gives her and public assistance, the less money or no money that she will receive from the father, even though the father is having his wages garnished or is paying into the system. So it's a system wherein the state is definitely incentivized to want to get into that agreement to make sure that they get their cut, right? And so let's see, that's why she wants to submit in marriage, because she, as a person that look at a man as a paycheck, that's just that can be true as well. So she,
look at you just like you are a lick. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. So yeah, so it's a situation where you look at it, and very much so, we've monetized the kids, right? The father is going to, if you're the higher earner or if you're the breadwinner, and I shouldn't say this, but a lot of times what you'll have is, how do I want to phrase this? So I still do mediation, so I don't want to phrase. Well, let me just phrase it this way. A lot of times what will happen is the attorneys will let you know in an indirect way on things that might be favorable or unfavorable in your family law case, right? To getting you more money as you are a disproportionate share of the marital estate is the legal terminology, right? So there is presumed in Texas, because Texas is what we call a community property state, California being another one is community, but it's a little different. It's different than Texas, but it's community property. So everything that's procured during the marriage is 50-50. So if you bought a coffee, you bought 50% of a coffee. You bought a ticket, you got 50% of a ticket. You got whatever it is that you have, be it income or debt, you got 50% of it. And if you want, and there are ways in the system that someone might be entitled to receive a disproportionate or more than 50% of the marital estate that they're entitled to, depending on certain conditions that if they're met. And many times, and I'm not going to name them because I don't want to sit there and start naming some of the things that people will do in order to get a disproportionate, because it's very negative towards men, some of the things that go on. And I'll leave it at that. But yeah, so it's one of those things that they monetize the kids, and not only monetize the kids, they monetize ways in which the couple will interact in order to make sure that the party who is going to be receiving any kind of child support or alimony, even if they're not here in Texas, it's presumed that if you're under 10 years of marriage, that you're not entitled to spousal support. And if you're over 10 years, the presumption can be rebutted, but there's certain milestones that also need to be met in order to say that, yes, one of them being that that needs to be explained is why it is that the mate who's asking for spousal support can't support themselves. And if there's other things that might have gone into that, and I'm not going to talk about some of those other things. Yeah. If you look at my videos on mediation, as one of I think it's the third or fourth one where I talk about one of the things that might impact it. You can go in there, you can go look at that. I'm not going to mention it here because I'm not talking about tactics as a get strategy on trying to screw each other over in these events of the dissolution of marriage and the breakdown of the family. But yeah, the main issue I had, and I don't make it's not just Uche. Uche is part of that problem, but it's
that mentality.
Correct. It's holding out Uche as if she's a role model, as if she's something that we should emulate and imitate, as if she is the model that the Black community needs to continue to follow, is to continue to break the family up, right? To get in there and to take it to the extent that you look at your family and you say, I don't need somebody else to burn this house down. I got matches and I can burn this down myself, right? I don't need somebody else to take a hammer to my relationship. I can take this to my relationship myself, right? So it's getting to that point and to hold those type of individuals out as people that you should look at, you should emulate, you should strive to be like Uche. And I'm going to say those people that they hold out, whether they're entertainers and they have 4 or 5 baby mamas, not somebody that you want to emulate as a role model. Those people like Uche that say, hey, I have a good relationship and a good husband and a good kids, and I'm going to burn it down. Not people you should emulate. Even if they put them in Black periodicals or Black websites like Essence or Ebony or Jet. Those are not BET. The things that they're modeling for us on these platforms are not for us. They're for us or aimed at us, but they're not for us to help build us up. And we need to start recognizing that that if you're seeing things and you're seeing a pattern of people that are held out as the model for you, and they are a foul model to be held out. Entertainers and sports people should not be the role models for us. Do we like to play sports? Do we like to be entertained? Sure. But that is not the only way. That's what they hold out. If you want to get out of this grind, this ghetto, this whatever, go become an entertainer. Go become a D-boy. Go become a sports figure. Go become anything else. Then that's your niche. That's what Black people are at. And Uche, she is just one of many that they hold out as. I would even say she's now become
agent.
Correct. That's probably the best way of phrasing that, West Adonis. She is one of many now that they're using, and they're becoming more and more prevalent as time goes on, because we continue to do the same thing over and over again, and our families continue to suffer. And because our families are suffering this way, and we're not there for our families the way we need to be, we have these disjointed, broken families that are leading to just the same issues over and over and over again. And the most important thing that they strive for is just to say, hey, just do you. It's all about you. Be selfish, be self-centered. Don't think about your family. Don't think about your community. Continue to
give us money,
and then everything else is going to be okay. And it's not okay, is what I'm saying. It's not.
Hey, on that note, hey man, I'm gonna get on out of here, man. I appreciate you having me. And we're gonna do it again.
We will definitely do it again. I say tomorrow I'll have out the thumbnail here tonight, but tomorrow's show I'm going to talk about something slightly different, not a whole lot. I've covered some of it tonight, unfortunately, but we will be back again tomorrow night at 8 as normal. And if I haven't told you already, I love you. I hope that your day went great, and may you always, always, always be blessed with peace in your life. And with that, we are out. Love you. We carrying it out. Thank you guys for attending. Thank you guys for being here. Good night.